You grow up in a dusty neighborhood outside Culiacan, Mexico. The houses are small, the streets uneven, and the heat never really leaves. Your mother spends her days cleaning other people's homes. Families with marble floors and big windows. Families who barely look at her when she arrives. Most of them never bother learning her name. Your father left when you were too young to remember his face clearly. There are no photos of him on the walls. No stories about him told at dinner. The only trace he left behind sits on a dusty shelf in the closet. A thick chemistry textbook. You find it when you're 9 years old. The pages smell old and dry. The words make no sense to you. Strange diagrams, long formulas, symbols that look like another language. But you keep reading. You don't understand the sentences, but the shapes fascinate you. Hexagons connected by lines. Tiny letters with numbers beside them. While other kids memorize soccer players and team stats, you memorize molecules. By 12, you can redraw chemical structures from memory. You still don't fully understand them, but the patterns feel logical. Predictable. Clean. Unlike life around you, school becomes the only place where things make sense. Teachers notice your discipline before they notice your intelligence. You're not the smartest student in class, but you work harder than anyone else. That difference matters. When graduation comes, you receive a scholarship to a state university in Mexico. Chemistry. You are the first kid from your neighborhood who has ever stepped foot on a university campus. The buildings feel enormous. The laboratories smell like alcohol wipes and glass cleaner. Real scientific equipment sits on stainless steel tables. You belong there. At least, you believe you do. University isn't easy. Some students arrive already prepared. Private schools, expensive tutoring, parents who are engineers and doctors. You arrive with determination. You study late. You volunteer in labs. You take every extra project professors offer. You aren't brilliant, but you're relentless. And professors notice something in you that makes them slightly uncomfortable. Hunger. Not ambition. Hunger. You graduate near the top of your class. A chemistry degree in your hand. You apply everywhere. Pharmaceutical companies. Biotech labs. Research facilities. You get interviews. But the calls never come back. Sometimes the interviewer smiles politely but looks at your address on the application a little too long. Sometimes they hear your accent. Sometimes the job goes to someone whose father already works at the company. After 6 months of applications, your savings disappear. You move back home. Your degree cost more than the house your mother lives in. And no one seems interested in it. Eventually you take a job stocking shelves at a hardware store. Paint cans, nails, plumbing parts. You arrange tools in neat rows while customers walk past you. One afternoon, a man walks in. He doesn't shop. He watches. After a few minutes he approaches. His name is Luis Moreno, but everyone calls him Lucho. He asks a simple question. You're the kid who studied chemistry at the university, right? In a small town, everyone knows everyone else's business. You nod cautiously. He says he knows someone who needs a chemist. The job pays well. Cash. He doesn't explain further. He doesn't need to. In Sinaloa, a chemist who gets paid cash usually works in one place. You tell him no. Immediately. That night you eat dinner with your mother. Rice and beans. She coughs through the meal. The cough has been there for months. The local clinic wants expensive tests. You lie awake staring at the ceiling. You do the math in your head. Your hardware store salary barely covers food. The medical tests alone cost 3 months of income. Treatment would cost far more. A week later, Lucho returns to the store. Same aisle. Same calm expression. Same question. This time you don't say no. You say you want to meet the employer first. He drives you out of town. 40 minutes into the hills. A quiet ranch surrounded by mesquite trees. Dogs wander the yard lazily. A man sits in the shade drinking cold horchata. His name is Don Rafael Castillo. He's older than you expected. Maybe 55. Soft voice. Relaxed posture. He looks more like a ranch owner than a criminal. He asks about your degree. Your GPA. Your lab experience. It's a job interview. He studies your transcript carefully. Then he explains the position. The current operation produces methamphetamine. The process is sloppy, inconsistent, about 70% purity. He wants 95. He wants someone who understands chemistry, not just recipes. He offers you $5,000 a month. Your current salary is $400. He sees you doing the math. He doesn't pressure you. He simply drinks his horchata and waits. You start the following Monday. They drive you blindfolded into the mountains. When the blindfold comes off, you stand inside a concrete building with no windows. The smell hits immediately: ammonia, solvents, burnt chemicals. Two men stand over plastic buckets bubbling with cloudy liquid. The lab looks like a middle school science project gone terribly wrong. You almost laugh. Almost. The first week you don't cook anything. You observe. You test the chemicals. You measure contamination. You draw a proper lab layout on the back of a grain sack. You write a list of equipment. Real glassware, condensers, accurate scales, pH meters, ventilation systems. Don Rafael reads the list. He doesn't complain about the cost. 4 days later a truck arrives carrying everything you requested. You realize something strange. The cartel approves funding faster than universities. You rebuild the lab. Proper workflow, clean reaction stages, controlled temperatures. Your first batch reaches 96% purity. Don Rafael studies the crystals under the light, like a jeweler examining a diamond. He doesn't congratulate you. He simply says, make more. Within 2 months you train assistants. Farm workers with no chemistry background. But they follow instructions carefully. One of them is a quiet 19-year-old named Mateo. One night he asks why purity matters. You explain it like a business lesson. Consistency creates loyal buyers. Loyal buyers create stable revenue. He nods slowly. It makes sense. Production expands. 1 lab becomes 2. 2 become 5. Don Rafael gives you a driver, a bodyguard, and a phone that changes every 2 weeks. You inspect every batch personally. Anything below 94% gets rejected. Soon everyone understands. Your approval determines their bonus. You have created a quality control system for poison. The money changes things. Your mother receives medical tests. Lung infection, treatable. You pay for the medicine. You repair the house. Buy her a new stove. She asks where the money comes from. You say you work for a pharmaceutical company in Guadalajara. She believes you, because she wants to. 6 months later Don Rafael shows you the distribution warehouse. Huge stacks of packages. Your labs produce kilograms. The warehouse moves tons. You do the math silently. Your monthly output is worth around $12 million on the street. You earn $5,000. You ask for a raise. Don Rafael smiles. He increases your pay to $8,000 and gives you a truck. Then he tells you about the previous chemist. The man skimmed product, sold some privately. They found him dissolved in a barrel of acid. Don Rafael finishes the story while eating lunch. Same calm voice. You understand the message. Then a problem appears. The government cracks down on pseudoephedrine sales. Your precursor supply disappears. Don Rafael asks for a solution. You spend 3 days researching alternative synthesis. You choose the P2P method. Harder, more dangerous, but the ingredients are industrial chemicals. Legal ones. You rebuild the labs. The first results look good chemically. But users complain. The drug feels weaker. You adjust the process. Add an additional purification step. Separate the molecular isomers. 3 extra hours per batch. Potency returns. Don Rafael starts calling you professor. You hate the nickname, but it sticks. 1 year later you travel to Tijuana to inspect a lab. Your driver accidentally passes through Zona Norte. Addicts sit on sidewalks, thin, covered in sores. A woman barely older than 20 scratches her skin until it bleeds. You look at her and instantly recognize the molecule responsible. You designed it, optimized it, perfected it. Your driver shrugs. They'd be using something anyway. You've said that before, but hearing it here feels different. Year 2, 8 labs, 40 workers, numbers so large you stop calculating profits. Then everything changes. Don Rafael is arrested during a federal operation. DIA involvement, international case. You see him on the news in handcuffs. Within hours you receive a call. His lieutenant takes control. Diego Alvarez, younger, louder, more reckless. He demands higher production, lower costs. He orders you to cut the product with fillers. Purity drops. Buyers disappear. Diego blames you. 2 of your lab managers vanish. No explanation. Mateo approaches you one night. He's scared. He heard your name mentioned in a meeting. Not as a person, as a problem. Then something unexpected happens. A message appears at a motel front desk. The DIA knows who you are. They offer protection, a new identity, safety for your mother. In exchange for information, you think for 2 days. About your mother, about the addicts, about Mateo. Then you call the number. For 3 months you secretly feed them information. Lab locations, supply routes, Communication channels. One morning before sunrise the raids begin. All 8 labs hit simultaneously. Dozens arrested. Hundreds of kilos seized. Diego captured within hours. You cross the border that same day under federal protection. They relocate you to a quiet town in New Mexico. Your new job is testing water quality at a treatment facility. You use the same instruments. The same techniques. But this time the chemicals help people. Your mother lives nearby under a new name. Every Sunday you visit. She cooks dinner. She asks about your work. You tell her it's important. She says she's proud. You chew slowly. Months later you read about a mass grave discovered in the mountains. 14 bodies. No names listed. One location matches the lab Mateo used to run. You close the laptop. The next morning you go to work. You test the water. pH 7.2. Within safe limits. You log the result. Some nights you sit at your kitchen table drawing molecules. Caffeine, aspirin, serotonin, structures that don't destroy lives. You fill notebooks with them. Hundreds of pages. You wonder sometimes about that chemistry textbook your father left behind. If he knew what path it might create, maybe a different book would have changed everything. History, literature, anything. But he left chemistry. And you opened it. Now you live quietly in a town nobody visits. Testing water. Drawing harmless molecules. Carrying knowledge in your head worth millions. Because cartels don't truly run on violence. Violence is just the noise. They run on chemistry. Every empire needs someone who can turn powder into power. The men with guns get the headlines. The chemist disappears into the background. A rented apartment, a quiet job, and a notebook full of molecules that finally don't hurt anyone.